Hi, I'd like to show you a suspended bind-off. A suspended bind-off is like a regular standard bind-off, except it puts a little more stretch into your edge. It makes it a little bit looser. It works in both knit and purl, but I am working on a purled piece right now, so I'm going to show you how it works in purl. You start off with working 2 stitches, just like any other bind-off, and on the second stitch, you're not going to drop it off the left needle. The next thing you do is bind this stitch off. So I'm taking this lower stitch, picking it up, taking it over the other stitch and off the end and dropping it off. Now I drop that rest of that left stitch off my left needle. Let's do it again. So here's my second stitch going on. Hold that stitch here on the left needle, reach in, take the lower stitch over the upper stitch, drop it off. Now drop this off the left needle. When I bind off in purl, I tend to, I'm not going to drop this, reach in back to pull my stitch over because then I don't have to worry about messing around with this yarn that's hanging out in front. You can do it either way. Drop it off, drop the rest of that stitch. Here we go again. Again, it works for knit or purl. Off, drop the rest of that stitch. Over, off, drop the rest of the stitch. When I come to the last stitch on the left needle, I don't want to do that holding on the left needle because that'll make it too loose. So I just purl it normally or knit normally if you're knitting. Take the stitch, bring it over the top. There we are. Now we have that one last loop on our right needle. What do you do if you're knitting in the round and you come to the end? Do you have to knit that stitch or purl that stitch? No. So you cut your yarn, and I'd leave a little longer tail than I left myself, but I cut this earlier. And then you take this yarn and you just pull it up through the loop. So it's coming out of this little chain loop up here. Let's get rid of that. Take your tail, thread it on a needle. What we're trying to do is match up the end with the beginning of the round because you know we're working in a big spiral and so this is going to be a little bit lower than this, and let's put it all together. So I'm going to look at the top edge here and see how your bind off makes these nice chain loops. You go for the first one, the very first one you bound off, go under the 2 legs of that stitch and bring your yarn under there. Now, you look for where your yarn came out of the chain loop on the other end and go back down where you came up. Oops, hold on. I'm looking over the top of my camera. Okay, there we go. So see my yarn's coming out of here? I want to go back in there. And that brings your 2 chain loops together. This might take a little bit of fussing, but we're going to make that little loop disappear, and then we're going to sew the end in. Easy peasy. I hope this helps.